Is Hamlet here? What has she got? Stuff. Huh? Could be jewelry. How does she describe it? Remembrances of yours. So why did you go to jewelry? I want to tell you you're right. I'm just trying to get you to think like why would you connect jewelry as a remembrance of somebody? Exactly, especially in a relationship. It's common to see one give another like a piece of jewelry. Does it have to be jewelry? Tell me something else, two people that were dating, what somebody could be bringing as a remembrance. Huh? Clothes. Absolutely. She might have borrowed his hoodie. She's bringing it back. What else could it be? Pictures.
Family heirlooms.
Could be heirlooms. Maybe in Alabama, they bring their heirlooms to give back as remembrance of their former lovers. Here's our mom's stove. Could be letters. It could be a lot of things, but think about how that idea there. All she says is, I have remembrances of yours I want to give back. There's no definition to it. There's no stage notes. So this could help to inform the level of their relationship. If it's just letters, we know from Act 2 that Hamlet has written letters back and forth with her. So that would maintain that this relationship maybe is just really simple. But if she shows up with jewelry, especially if she shows up with a little box that looks like a ring box, holy crap, we change everything about how your viewer, your audience is going to perceive the relationship that's there. So she comes with this. How does Hamlet react? Well, let's talk about her words before we look at his reaction. Look at what she says towards the bottom of page 72 there. Because when he's like, I didn't give you these. Now, he says, I never gave you aught, which could be a reason to return these to me, which could be the emotion that goes into it. And she says, my honored lord, you know right well you did. And with them words of so sweet breath composed as made the things more rich. Your words made these things meaningful. So she says, their perfume lost. Now that your words don't have meaning anymore, take these again. For to the noble mind, rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind. Hamlet is approaching this conversation feeling a sense of shame already. What's his reaction going to be to that line about rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind? Is it going to be favorable? Does she know that this is a thing that's going to get him? When you say something like that to somebody else, do you know it's going to hurt them? Oh, yeah. Now remember, she's acting under orders from her father, but she still knows what she's doing. She's poking at him the same way you know what to say to your parents to get a reaction out of them, and you know how to frame it. Think about this in the same way. She's going to poke. Does it work? Oh, yeah. Look here at how Hamlet reacts. So he begins with that, like, ha, ha. It's not like a laugh. He's not, ha, ha. He's trying to, be like, what? Like, kind of in that way. And he follows it up with rhetorical questions. Are you honest? Are you fair? Tell me why he's posing those two questions. What's his point then in the third statement?
Is it like, well, you're not being great either? Kind of like that?
Kind of, but it's a lot more insulting and a lot more personal than that.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. Well, you're not doing your best. I don't know what I'm talking about.
If she's honest and fair, it doesn't relate to the view.
Pretty much. He's calling her out that if you think you're honest and you think your judgment is fair, then you wouldn't call yourself beautiful. Dang. holy crap, like she made the comment about, hey, your actions have proven that you're not as nice as you told me that you were when you gave me these gifts. And he turns around and he's like, whoa, you're not as beautiful as you think you are, girl. Oh, he just goes nuclear. Boom. Now she tries to just ask the question, could beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty? Basically, shouldn't those two things go together? And he's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. They should go together. For the power of beauty will sooner transform itself from what it is to a bawd. You notice they give you this definition of procurer. It's not a great definition. If they added the phrase procurer of sex, it might help a little bit more for what they mean. You would trade your beauty from what it is to something bawdy, something nasty, gross. Then the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. In other words, if you really go with it, you're going to really take what you look and make it skanky versus doing this other thing. Ugh. He says it used to be a paradox, but now the time gives it proof. He's basically like, people used to think this didn't make sense, but then you proved it. And then all of a sudden he says this really weird phrase. I did love you once. And your brain just kind of goes, what? Wait, you just literally called her out for not being as beautiful as she thinks she is. You make fun of her, and then you turn around and you're like, I did love you once. You have to understand, and this goes back to our ha-ha. Hamlet smells the trap. Here's this girl coming up to him after he hasn't talked to her for a while with a breakup box. Here's all your stuff back. I don't want it anymore. How many people go out of their way to actually return that stuff? Think in your case. Somebody leaves stuff at your house. How likely are you going to be to return it to them versus just throwing it away because you don't want to deal with them anymore?
I mean, depending on what it is, if it's worth something, I'll return it.
Mm-hmm. So here he smells the trap. And once she starts to talk that way, he's like, this isn't you. And so he's tried to sound her out. And here when he says, I loved you once, this is his moment of genuine bit. This is the closest we get. Now, whether that love is romantic or just casual and friendly, we don't know. But he's trying to be honest. Like, this didn't have to turn out this way. I loved you once. And she says, indeed, my lord, you made me believe so. And he's like, God, I wanted you to be honest, and you just keep playing this game with me. And so he says, you shouldn't have believed me. I loved you not. It's his way of being like, never mind. If this is how we're going to do this, if you're going to play this game, then let's go. And you notice what her next line is, because we're going to change the page. I was the more deceived. Again, she shoots it back in his face, and it's just going to get him cranked up angry again. So as we continue with this, you're going to see his anger is going to come back.
I was the more deceived. Get thee to a nunnery. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? I am myself indifferent, honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it were better my mother had not borne me. I'm very proud, revengeful, ambitious, with more offences at my back than I have thoughts to put them in imagination, to give them shape or time to act. I mean, what should such fellows as I do, crawling between heaven and earth? We are arrant knaves, all believe, none of us. Go thy ways to a nunnery. Where's your father?
Oh, my lord.
Well, let the doors be shut upon him, that he may play the fool nowhere but in his own house. Farewell.
Sweet heavens.
If thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow, thou shalt not escape calumny. Get thee to a nunnery. Go, farewell. Or if thou wilt needs marry a fool, for wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. To a nunnery, go, and quickly do, farewell!
How is restored
I have
him?
heard of your paintings too, well enough. God has given you one face, and you make yourselves another. You dig, you amble, and you lisp, and nickname God's creatures, and make you wantonness your ignorance. go through on no warrants. It has made me mad. I say, we will have no more marriages. Those that are married already, all but one, shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery. Go!
Okay. We need to talk about Hamlet's lines because for most readers, they have no anymore. They don't understand why he keeps telling her to go to a nunnery. What is a nunnery?
It's like a Catholic thing that all the women are not ever married and they stay abstinent and they're just married to God.
Yes. So our modern term we would use is a convent. It is a place where nuns, religious women, live. And in becoming a nun, a religious woman, you take a vow of chastity. You will not have sex. And so he is urging her here to go to a nunnery because as you look at all these lines, he's basically saying men are evil, men are awful. You will simply be tormented if you continue to pursue a man. Go to a nunnery. If we look at some of the points he makes that are important, if you take a look up about line 122, he's looking at himself here. Remember, he leaves the to be or not to be speech shamefaced. He has not taken action. He cannot bring himself to take that action immediately, and he feels as though his conscience is holding him back. And so he says, why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? I am myself indifferent honest, but yet I could accuse me of such things that it would be better my mother had not borne me. Well, the things he could accuse himself are the thoughts that he's having of killing Claudius and committing murder. And so it would be better my mother had not borne me because then I wouldn't have these thoughts. But think too, it would be better for my mother if I didn't exist. I would not be killing her second husband. She would not have to be in this situation of grieving her first husband. A lot of these things might have been solved had I not been here. He is just as much talking, and this is where it gets kind of weird and Oedipal, about his mother going to a nunnery as he is talking about Ophelia going to a nunnery. This is definitely a misplaced frustration with his mother just as much as it is the girl that he is interested in. And he goes into it to talk about what kind of things men are. But notice that by the end of that first section, he asks the question about her father. Now that seemingly comes out of nowhere. Remember, he thinks this is a setup. He isn't 100% sure. So to help some viewers, some versions of the play do one simple thing here. Before Hamlet says the line on 128, they do this. Or a chew. They give some kind of cue that someone who is hidden is listening to this conversation, and Hamlet looks off and turns his eyes back to Ophelia and almost gives her one last chance. Okay, I softened to you and I was honest. I told you that I loved you and you still wanted to play this game. Last chance, girl. Where's your father? And look at what she says. At home. And so he just starts to wind up and he's like, son of, oh my God. I tried to give you every out here and you continue to lie. And so he goes back to it. Fine, if your father's at home, let the doors be shut upon him that he may play the fool nowhere but his own home. He knows that he's listening in, and so he's shouting here, you're an idiot. You're all idiots. Got it? Good. And then what does Ophelia do? Oh, help him, sweet heavens. Is that going to get Hamlet angrier or calm him down? Angrier. Mother of God, I gave you the chance to be honest with me. I asked you the question. I tried to be genuine. And now you want to try to ask God for help for me? Oh, girl, I'm going to destroy you. And so he then continues to press on. And he's basically like, if you do get married, be as chaste as ice. And of course, chastity goes to don't give up any sex, as pure as snow. He's like, or if you marry a fool. For wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. Marry somebody stupid enough to not realize how you play games, girl. And so he gives her to a nunnery, go. And he tries to walk away, and look at what she does. Once again, she's got to have the last word, just like a woman. Oh, heavenly powers, restore him. And so you can imagine he's walking away, and she says that. He's just like, oh my God, have I not beaten you into the ground enough yet? Fine. Round 2, ding, ding, ding. Now I got to be nasty. I've heard of your paintings. Here he's talking about makeup on the face. God hath given you one face, and you literally make yourself another with makeup. You jig, you amble, and you lisp. Think about the things that girls do to attract guys. Guys are no better. Don't make this into the thing of like, oh, you just... Girls, when a guy comes around that they're interested in, they start doing that thing where they're like, oh, and they talk in that higher voice, and they kind of, oh, you're so funny. They do those little things, and they change their mannerisms. And I know that you've seen it because you probably looked at your friends and been like, what are you doing? Are you having a stroke? Why are you acting so weird all of a sudden? Girls do that, and if you're like, guys do stuff too, they absolutely do. Guys become idiots. If you watch, guys will do it. Group of guys that's in the hallway, hot girl comes past them, they all won't look at her. They will cross their arms, and they will just be like, they'll pose. And you can watch, because if the girl comes from this way, they'll look up this, and then they'll go, intentionally not trying to look at her. And the second that they think she's out of earshot, they all go, oh, man, did you see that? Oh! Every time. So just as guilty. He's calling out, this is what women do. And he says, he goes through the whole thing on it. He says, go to it. I'll know more. It hath made me mad. Here, he knows that they're listening to him. He knows that he's laid the trap enough that they think I'm crazy because I love her. So he feeds them exactly what they want to hear. Fine. This girl hath made me mad. He says, we'll have no more marriages. Those that are married, and here, all but one. Who's the one? All but one shall live. Who's the one that's married that's going to die? The king, Claudius. So here he's calling it out. He's like, I know you're probably listening with him too. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Everybody else has to live. That's it. I'm done. To a nunnery. Go. And you imagine Hamlet almost runs off stage because he's like, don't you dare say another word. Don't you do it. And here we leave Ophelia in a puddle. This poor girl has been destroyed by Hamlet. He's called her out. He's done all these things. And so she's crying. She's going to have her lines here before her father and Claudius return. And so we'll finish the scene. Don't turn the page. We'll talk about what we see here at the end, and then we'll watch a version or two.
Noble mind is here on throne. Courtiers, soldiers, scholars, eye, tongue, sword, the expectancy and rose of the fair state, the glass of fashion and the mould of form, the observed of all observers, quite down. And I, of ladies most deject and wretched, that sucked the honey of his music vows, now see that noble and most sovereign reason like sweet bells jangled out of tune and harsh, that unmatched form and feature of lone youth blasted with ecstasy. Oh, woe is me, to have seen what I have seen. See what I see.
Love? His affections do not that way tend. Nor would he spake, though it lacked form a little, was not like madness. There's something in his soul, for which his melancholy sits unbrood. And I do doubt perhaps on a disclose will be some danger, which for to prevent, I have in quick determination thus set it down. He shall with speed to England for the demand of our neglected tribute. Happily the seas and countries different with variable objects shall expel this something settled matter in his heart, whereon his brain still beating puts him thus from fashion of himself. What think you of that?
It shall do well, but yet do I believe the origin and commencement of this grief sprung from neglected love. Ah, now, Ophelia, you need not tell us what Lord Hamlet said. We've heard it all. My lord, do as you please. But if you hold it fit, after the play, let his queen mother all alone entreat him to show his griefs. Let her be round with him, and I'll be placed, so please you, in the ear of all their conference. If she find him not, to England send him, or confine him where your wisdom best shall think.
It shall be so. Madness in great ones, but not girl.
Okay, so as we end this opening scene, we get Ophelia's lines here. Boo-hoo, I'm upset. Let's talk about the king's response. So the king and Polonius finally enter scene from wherever they've been hiding. What does the king say about Hamlet's performance here?
He doesn't believe that it's actually about love.
Yeah. We need to show, because remember, we are still here. We're in this rising action. We need to show that Claudius is just as smart as Hamlet. Hamlet believes he has the upper hand, but as Claudius comes out, he makes clear to the audience, I'll buy this. There's something. This isn't about love. What is it that he says he is going to do?
I've seen the queen succeed to, or no, that's Polonius.
Yeah, Polonius says that towards the end. What does the king say he wants to do here? This is still in those opening lines. Huh? Yeah, we're going to send Hamlet to England for our neglected tribute. You need a little bit of historical background to kind of understand this. At one point, and we're talking here way back, England was under the protection of the Vikings, for lack of a better term, if you want to think about it that way, the Norwegians. This would have been previous to about 1100 that we would have seen this. And so Hamlet itself is more of a traditional Norwegian tale that he's shipping, so he's kind of mixing history here. But he's saying, let's send him to England for this neglected tribute. Why? Why send Hamlet to England when for the whole play he's been like, no. Uh-huh. And so what can happen to Hamlet on the way to England? He could die, and it could be an accident, but it solves Claudius's problem. So he comes up with a solution. We're moving here, we're rising action. Let's send him to England. Now, he does turn and he asks Polonius, what think you on it? And a lot of people are always perplexed by that. They're like, he's already answered the question. Why is he turned into this fool? Because Polonius is a little toad. Polonius needs to be petted. He needs to be made to feel special. And so it's the same way that sometimes teachers will ask you for your opinion when they really don't. They don't need it. They're just trying to make you feel special. And so he asks here, what do you think on it? This also gives us an opportunity to further characterize Polonius. Because look at what his answer is. I think it's neglected love. You moron. Like, we know that he has this plentiful lack of wit. Hamlet pointed that out to us in Act 2, and here he just proves it. Because he fell hook, line, and sinker for Hamlet's whole game. And so Claudius even turns and just probably looks at him like, you moron. Fine. We also set up, again, rising action, where we are going here in the act. Because Polonius proposes what they should do next, and we further our theme of spying. What does Polonius say he is willing to do?
He wants to spy after sending the queen to like talk to Hamlet about his disposition.
Absolutely. He's kind of looking at this situation going, okay, if the girlfriend didn't work, what if we send his mom in? Let's have her talk to him, and I'll spy there and listen in and see if I can get anything. This will happen later in Act 3. We will get there. But for right now, notice that we're continuing that rising action. Characters are still coming up with new solutions to deal with the problems that we have. Those things started down here. We're going to watch a couple of versions. I have them posted in